Hello, my name is Stacy. I am here to demonstrate and show you the different parts of the skull today. I have Scully here, my partner in crime, and he will be helping me to demonstrate these different parts. I have my list, so I don't leave off anything. We will start with pretty much the cranial bone, the outside of the brain. The outside of the skull, not the brain. So we have the frontal, all of this here. Next we have the parietal, here. Then we have the sphenoid, which is kind of behind the eye socket, here, this section. The ethmoid bone is on the inner part of the eye, here. My next one is the temporal bone, here. Occipital is in the back. Then we have the nasal bone, here. The lacrimal bone is on the internal part of the eye as well, in here. The palatine bone is on the internal eye, but it's further back here. The zygomatic bone is in the front of the face. That will be this part here. Then we have the inferior nasal, that's not supposed to be on my list. We have the vomer bone, which is the inside part of the nose. This narrow bone here is like a ridge, the ridge, I would call it on the diagram. We have the maxilla here. We have the mandible, the lower part of the jaw. Then if you look on the internal part of the mouth, which I don't know how far he will open, but at the roof of the mouth in the front, like right behind your two front teeth, there is the incisive fossa. And it is under here. And then if you go further back to like the palate, your hard palate at the roof of your mouth towards the back, more so towards, I would say, your wisdom teeth, there is a greater palatine foramen that is present. The next we have the inferior orbital fissure, which is on the inner part of the eye, underneath at the bottom. Perpendicular plate of ethmoid, that is pretty much right above the vomer bone. It's like the top part is connected to the vomer bone. Then we have the inferior nasal concha, which is on the inner part of the nose. On the side, it's inner, I can't do this. It's inner and to the side, back to the side. We have the glabella, which is the part between your eyes here, right here. The supraorbital foramen, which is right here by your eyebrow. There's like a little hole there. We have the superior orbital fissure, which is towards the back of the eye socket and kind of like up at a upward direction back here. You have the optic foramen, which is on the inner part of, kind of like where your tear ducts would be here. You have the middle nasal concha, which is on the inside towards the left or the right of the vomer bone, which is on the inside and then back to the right here. Next, we have the sagittal suture, top of the head, the suture that goes straight down the middle. The coronal suture is kind of, this here. The coronal suture. It's tough to show. Coronal suture. Then we have the squamous suture is here. Squamous suture. Then we have the lambdoid suture, which is towards the back of the head. And it is here. That's the lambdoid. External acoustic meatus, that is this hole here, like kind of where the ear would be. Occipital bone. Again, this is the back of the head. The mastoid process would be here. The styloid process would be this fella here. The mandibular condyle is pretty much where it connects here. Mandibular notch is this part here. The mandibular ramus would be in here. The coronoid process, bear with me, is here. Right here. Then you have the sphenoid bone, which is here. Oops, sorry, wrong, right here. That is the sphenoid. My next thing is the anterior nasal spine. From the side, that is here. And the mental foramen is here. There's a hole there. And then if you go take top of the head off, it does come in parts. All right, so we're going to go with the cribriform plate, which is here. Sorry, here and here. And we're all kind of, if you look, it's at the frontal part of the bone up here in front of the head. The the crista galla is this bone, is this middle part right here. Next, we have the sella torsia, which is this part here, right there in the middle. The internal auditory meatus, that is here. Sorry, that is here. The jugular foramen is towards here, back here. Then you have the styloid foramen, which would be here. The foramen roundum, which would be here. Then you have the foramen ovale, which is kind of a little bit behind here, right behind the foramen roundum. And then you have the foramen lacerum, which is a little further inward here. The carotid canal is here. And the foramen magnum would be this big hole here where you see the screw. And I do hope this video was pretty clear. Like Abadala said, the brain or the skull to this skeleton here is kind of small, but I hope you could see where I were pointing out everything. And that is the end of my video. I hope this was very informative, and thank you.